This webinar is scheduled to end at 11:30, and we'll make every attempt to get through every question that we drop into the question and answer box. We ask that you use question and answer, not chat, so we don't have to check both places. If for some reason if we have a question, we will try to unmute you if we have to ask for clarity. We will make every attempt to get through every question. If there's something that we don't get to, we will make sure that the answers to the questions that are not addressed live will be written and sent out to everyone who is participating this morning. You'll be able to click on some of the hyperlinks that you see as we go through the pages and the documents, and you can access the web pages that we do as we go through this presentation. So I want to tell you a little about the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven and our partner, the Valley Community Foundation. The Community Foundation for Greater New Haven was established in 1928. It's one of the oldest and largest community foundations in the United States, and it remains the largest grant makers to nonprofits in our 20-town region in the heart of South Central Connecticut, which you see here on the map. This region includes the 5 towns served by the Valley Community Foundation, known as VCF, which was established in 2004. VCF fulfills the mission of the Community Foundation in the Valley's unique 5 cities and towns of Ansonia, Derby, Oxford, Shelton, and Seymour. The 2 foundations work collaboratively to address the needs of and seize the opportunities for service areas. The Community Foundation for Greater New Haven works with donors to achieve their charitable goals and with nonprofits to build a strong community. It convenes the community around important issues, and it's the largest grant maker serving Greater New Haven, making over $30 million in grants last year and distributions every year. Included in these distributions are organization funds. We manage endowments for more than 100 organizations. We have funds made up from 1,100 individually named funds and are valued over $760 million. We provide technical assistance to nonprofit staff and board members and volunteers looking to create a stronger impact in the community. I'm going to turn it over to Logan. You muted, Logan. Now it's an official presentation.
Yeah. Sorry about that, everybody. It happens to everybody. So thank you, Jackie. Good morning, everybody. So all applicants must be tax-exempt organizations under Section 501c3 or any section of the Internal Revenue Code, or have a fiscal sponsor. Applicants must provide services in at least 1 town of our 20-town region, or one of the 5 Valley towns for a Valley Community Foundation request. Your organization can be located outside of our 20-town region, but it must just serve one of our 20 towns. You saw the helpful map on the previous slide, but I'll just read the towns out to you. They include Ansonia, Bethany, Brantford, Cheshire, Derby, East Haven, Guilford, Hamden, Madison, Milford, New Haven, North Brantford, North Haven, Orange, Oxford, Seymour, Shelton, Wallingford, West Haven, and Woodbridge. All applicants must comply with all local, state, and federal anti-discrimination laws. Applicants who are previous recipients of a grant within the past 3 years must have submitted all required reports. We'll talk on a later slide, if you need to check if you're in compliance with us in terms of reporting. Projects that do not generally receive consideration include religious activities, endowment campaigns, travel, previously incurred debts, funding deficits, and sports leagues that do not provide academic and/or social supports.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the grant making specifically for this year. The first program we want to talk about is the NHE3 Small Business Grant Program. This is for for-profit businesses only. So if you are a for-profit business registered in Connecticut with at least 1 year of record of sales, you are managed with a formal digital bookkeeping system, and you have and there are some restrictions that do apply. If you are a for-profit business and you're interested in learning more about this program, this webinar is not for you. We are not going to talk about this program. The website here, the e3connector.com, will give you all the information you need about this program, but this webinar will not. So those of you who are here from for-profit businesses, you're welcome to leave now. Want to get on to what we can talk about for our nonprofits. And for our nonprofit programs, the responsive grants this year, our main process for the year, where we distribute the majority of the money that we give out in 1 year. This year, our responsive grants are 1, 2, or 3 years. So you can apply for a 1, 2, or 3-year grant. You can apply for a maximum of $50,000 per year. Nonprofits and the foundations, that's both the Valley Community Foundation and the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven, in our foundation service area, are eligible to apply for general operating support grants. If you are a statewide organization or a multi-region and serve the majority of your population outside the 20 towns, but also do serve the 20 towns, then you must come in for a program support grant. So more than 50% in Greater New Haven, you get general operating. Less than 50% in Greater New Haven, you must come in for a program support grant. Organizations this year can apply either for a Community Foundation small grant or responsive, but not both. You can only apply for one type of grant. Valley organizations can apply for both the needs opportunities and responsive grants through those processes. And we'll talk more about these processes as we go along. We will also be offering the Neighborhood Leadership Program again this year. We took a year off to do some research on that program. It will be coming back in the fall. There'll be more about that. There will not be a new cohort of emerging leaders launched in 2024. The third cohort is already in its second year during this year. A new cohort will be chosen in 2025. So that program will not be introduced. And we're going to talk more about the timeline for all of these programs as we move on. In 2024, we are offering the 2023 responsive grant recipients the opportunity to apply for continuation of the grant that they had last year. This email went out earlier this week only to those organizations that received a responsive grant in July of 2023. They can have, if the continuation is approved, they would have a 1-year continuation at 65% of the 23 grant award amount. They have to request the continuation no later than February 9th. The earlier the better, but no later than February 9th. The decision to recommend continuation to our board will be made in time if they need to fill out a full application for funding for next year. If the grant is not going to be recommended to continue, there will be an opportunity to apply for full funding. The board will make the decisions in May about the funding, and then the funding will come in July for those continuation grants. So these are the grants that are available through the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven and Valley organizations. These are the ones that are shared processes. These are the ones that are combined processes. So the responsive grants, that's the big process that's coming up soon. The applications are due on March 11th at 5 p.m. You must also update your Give Greater profile by March 18th at 5 p.m. So it's a 2-part application, the application itself and the Give Greater profile. Up to $50,000 of totally flexible funding, general operating support, if your organization in the 20-town is based in the 20-town region and 50% of your population served is more than 50% of your population served is living in the 20-town region. You don't have to be based here, but if more than 50% of your population served is in the 20-town region, you can apply for general operating support. If less than 50% of your population served lives inside our region, you must apply with the same deadlines, an application by the 11th, the Give Greater profile by the 18th, for a statewide or multi-region program support grant. In this grant, we're going to ask you to tell us all about what you do in Greater New Haven. The general operating support grant, we ask you about your general operating, what the organization does as a whole. This one, we want you to focus on what you do in New Haven. Nonprofit animal shelter grants open all the time. We already have 2 applications in for this year. We have a special fund, the Conopacky Fund. Anyone can apply if you are a nonprofit, independent nonprofit organization that gives shelter to animals. Up to $10,000, and you can apply at any time. We also have the consultant support program. Anyone can apply for a short-term, small capacity building project. Small in the $1,000 to $2,000 range. This should not be part of a larger project, but it can be for anything that you would like to just have a thought partner on and consultant support. The Community Fund for Women and Girls will be doing another round of Pathways to Economic Security for Women. The application will open on March 4th. It'll be due on April 1st at 5 p.m. You can apply for women and girls as well as other processes, and also for basic needs. The basic needs, the applications will open in September. They'll be due in October. These are for just organizations that provide basic needs. And again, you can apply for basic needs as well as the others.
Jackie, we're going to stop for just a minute. Good morning, everyone, and look at some of the questions that have come up in the chat. One of them is about grant reporting being up to date. If the report was submitted before the board approved the 2024 budget, the question is, can we edit our submission?
The grant, I'm not sure I understand. Say that again. If the grant was
So the report was submitted before the board approved their 2024 budget. Can they submit an addendum to what they've already submitted as far as their reporting goes?
well, the majority of the reporting is the outcomes, so those would not have changed dependent on board action. If you're talking about the budget is slightly altered, we don't need to have that reported out at this time as general operating support. We know that you fulfilled your mission. You've fulfilled your mission. So there are going to be tweaks to budgets as, you know, as an accountant comes through and does that. So it's not necessary to file an additional report. We will, however, ask you to update your Give Greater profile with your most recent financial statements. So those are the corrected ones that will be on your Give Greater profile, and you can do that at any time, but must be prior to applying for more funding.
Thanks, Jackie. And I believe you've already answered the question that if you apply for a responsive grant, can you also apply for women and girls?
Yes, you can.
And if you apply for a responsive grant, can you apply for a Quinnipiac River Fund grant?
Yes, you can.
Perfect. There we go. That's the answers to the questions thus far. Thank you.
Okay, then let's move on. And Logan.
Thanks, Jackie. So as Jackie mentioned, there are 2 types of responsive grants. The first being general operating support. So this is intended to be flexible sources of support. You do not need to identify a particular use it will be applied to. So it can be used for ongoing or new programs and services, as well as administration and infrastructure. So it's really an opportunity for the foundation to invest in the good work of your organization and its mission. As Jackie also mentioned, it's our highest competitive process. So when you're filling out the application, we really want you to identify other funders and commitments. We want you to identify partnerships with other organizations where it makes sense to accomplish what will address the need you're meeting in the community. And we really want you to have a long-term funding strategy. You know, how will you sustain your programs when this funding ends? The maximum request is $50,000. As also previously mentioned, you know, last year we did 1-year grants. This year you can apply for up to 3 years of multi-year funding. It is a jointly administrated process by the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven and the Valley Community Foundation. So the application is currently open, so they are available both on the 2 respective websites, the cfgnh.org and valleyfoundation.org. So the second type is program support for statewide and multi-region organizations. So this is program support. Program support is only available to statewide and multi-region organizations. So if you're located in Greater New Haven or the Valley, and more than half the people you serve are from this region, you cannot apply for program support. So the program we're asking for are the programs and services in Greater New Haven and the Valley. So when you open this application, we're going to ask about this percentage on the eligibility quiz. And depending how you answer that question, it will guide you to the appropriate application. So if you have any questions before you fill out that eligibility quiz, just to make sure you're going to the right place, please let me know. And you know, I can kind of guide you so you're filling out the right application. Then Jackie, I think if there's any more questions you're checking for.
Yes, we have a couple of questions. This is 50,000 per year for 3 years, not 50,000 across 3 years. And that's correct. It's 50,000. You can request up to 50,000 per year for up to 3 years. Another question that came in, when are responsive grants awarded? We're going to talk about that. We'll have the timeline shortly. Now I am applying for the responsive grant, and could I apply for basic needs or utilities program? I'm not sure if you're applying for responsive, you can apply for basic needs. Not sure what you mean by utilities program. You can apply for one responsive grant. Either you fit into the general operating support category or you fit into the program category. You cannot choose. It is purely based on the population you serve. You don't have a choice of saying, I'd like to apply for a program. You must apply for general operating if you have 50% or more of your population in New Haven. You must apply for program if less than 50% of your population is in New Haven. I have a capital support grant that is continuing. Can I still apply? Yes, you can. Can we apply for multiple responsive grants? No, one responsive grant. You can only apply for one responsive grant. And as I said, described, you can only apply for where you fit in to those categories. Grant recipients who elect to apply for continuation will be eligible to apply for a multi-year responsive grant next year. Yes. Yes, continuation grantees that are continued will be able to apply next year for a new responsive grant. For shelter grants, does that count for animal rescues that don't have a physical location? Logan, I'll let you answer that. For shelter grants, does that count for animal rescues that don't have a physical location, but work with fosters?
I would say yes. Yes. I think it would have, yeah. Yes.
Okay, I think we're going to move on now because we have so much to get through. We've addressed most of the questions. I think we'll be addressing some as we go through. So let's go on to the next slide.
Yeah, so as I said, the responsive grants, they're available now. The due date is March 11th. Different from last year, the Give Greater piece will be due after the application. So if you submit an application on March 11th and you still need to update your Give Greater profile, we'll be in contact with you to create, update, and complete your organization's Give Greater profile by that March 18th deadline. After March 18th, that's when the review period will be. During this time, someone may reach out to you with questions, set up a one-on-one with you, or you know, a site visit if necessary. And then funding recommendations will be presented to the board in July, and then if approved, you'll be notified shortly after of a decision.
Thanks so much, Logan and Jackie. In addition to the responsive grants that we've just been talking about, there are other grants that TCF and BCF make in partnership. I'm going to review several of those right now, and they can also be found on the slide with the table of the grants that you've already seen this morning. As you can see, the animal shelter grants are up to $10,000, and they are rolling applications. You can find the information and all the application links by going to either our website, www.valleyfoundation.org, or the Community Foundation's website as well, to be able to download the application, which are all online. So as Logan was talking about earlier, any independent nonprofit that gives shelter to animals in our 20-town region can apply at any time and expect an answer within approximately 8 weeks. And by the way, the cfgnh.org, www, is the website to apply for from TCF side as well. Next slide, please. Our next program is consultant support. Nonprofits serving Greater New Haven or the Valley can apply for consultant support for discrete projects. This funding should not be used as part of a larger engagement for a consultant. For example, we're not going to pay for $1,000 of a $10,000 strategic planning plan program or anything larger. It is really targeting a very specific need in your individual organization. Consultant time and or out-of-pocket expenses are covered in this project. We have a vetted list of consultants that you can choose from, or you can engage with your own consultant who agrees to work for an hourly rate not to exceed $125 an hour. Organizations may only receive funding from this program one time in 2024, and the award will not impact your eligibility for any of our other grant programs. All of our contact information is there. Allison Abramson, Stephanie Chung, who has joined us. Welcome, Steph. And me for the Valley are more than happy to discuss the consultants program support program for you. Jackie, are there any other questions that we need to look at this time?
Yes, I have a few questions that we'd like to go over. Do we have to apply from an anonymous attendee? Do we have to apply for the continuation, or can we submit a new application? You can absolutely submit a new application. The continuation is, if you are fulfilling your outcomes, it is highly likely. I won't say guaranteed, but if you are fulfilling your obligations, highly likely that you will just be continued at that 65%. If you enter a new application, you will be in competition with I will tell you, 350 people who registered for today's webinar for a pool of money that will be distributed throughout the Greater New Haven community. So you have a choice. Yes, you can apply for a new grant. Can you apply for the grants that require a Give Greater profile if you're using a fiscal sponsor or are in the process of becoming a nonprofit? Yes, absolutely. You can apply for a responsive as long as you're using a fiscal sponsor. You must still complete for the applicant organization a full Give Greater profile. That is an integral part of the application. We don't ask you a lot of those questions on the application because it's in the Give Greater profile. So yes, you can apply, but you must complete the profile, even if you don't have your 501c3. Are any of these grants available for students for education? All of our grant making is done to 501c3 organizations or those with fiscal sponsors. We do not make grants to individuals. We empower the nonprofits in our community to help individuals. So you have to find an organization that's working with students in order to get direct funding for students. If we achieve the milestone of 2 years of programming in June, will there be another opportunity later this year to apply, or can we apply with the March application? You cannot apply in the March application, and there will not be another opportunity. This might be a great year for you to apply for a small grant. And we'll talk more about that program coming up. But you will not be eligible for the responsive process this year, and there is only one responsive process per year. Would a new organization be able to qualify for the GOS grant if it's partnering with an established organization that has active programming? Can you apply jointly? No, there has to be one applicant organization who leads the process. So if the other organization was the applicant, then yes, they could apply. It's not a joint application. The award would go to them. For the responsive multi-region, we have a program we have run over 10 years across the state, but want to expand to New Haven with additional support. Would this be expansion, continue the new program, or fulfill the eligibility criteria? If your organization has been in operation for more than 2 years, I believe that's the criteria you're asking about. If your organization has been in doing programming for more than 2 years, then you qualify, even if it has not been programming in New Haven, but it would have to be the multi-region, and talk about why you think you can break into this region, and how you would do that. Can the program support include more than one program in New Haven? Absolutely. It's a really nuanced way to approach it. It's kind of general operating support for everything you do in Greater New Haven, but it's not general operating support for your entire organization. So yes, multiple programs, as long as they're operating in this region. I think I'm going to stop here and move on to the next slides because we have lots more questions. How do you determine 2 years of full programming? When you started offering programs to the community, so we're asking for some honesty in that. You've been up and running as an organization. You have a board that has been constituted. You have an infrastructure that has been constituted. You are a registered organization with the state, not necessarily with your 501c3, but a registered organization that is operating. I think we're going to move on to the next slide, and we'll come back to questions after we've done a little bit more. Okay, these are the opportunities that are available to Greater New Haven based organizations only. So the ones we've talked about so far are both Valley and New Haven. These are just New Haven processes. The small grants program, and there are 3 different types of applications we'll go into. We have a sponsorship program. The Quinnipiac River Fund is only New Haven organizations, New Haven-based organizations, and the Neighborhood Leadership Program, which will be coming up in Q4.
Okay, so the small grants process. So I want to highlight a few different new changes that have happened this year. So the first is with the annual operating budget. So it used to be 2 million. It is now available to organizations with annual operating budgets less than 1.5 million. We've also lowered the maximum you can request. It was 15K. It is now 10K. There's now 2 application rounds. So historically, this was a rolling process. We have now divided it into 2 different rounds. It is currently open, and the current deadline is April 1st. After April 1st, it will close, and then it will reopen again on August 1st. So just be mindful if you're interested in this process of, when you're going to use these funds, because if, we can't fund something that has already happened come August 1st, for example. It's an 8 to 10 week turnaround. Applications are viewed at first come, first served basis. Organizations can only apply every other year. So if you received a grant in 2023, you'd have to wait till 2025 to apply again. I think we're on the wrong slide here. It's okay. Jump back. So yeah, another thing to point out is this application is not available on the website. You have to contact me directly. I may ask you a few questions just to kind of point you in the right direction, and then I will provide you a link from there. So there's 3 different types of small grants. The first is capacity building. So this is for short-term financial assistance to build the infrastructure of your organization. So a couple examples of that, but not limited to, is board development, strategic planning, evaluation, capital expenditures, including equipment, building renovations or relocation. The second type is program support. So this is a grant made for a specific new or existing program. Then the third, we talked about general operating. So you can come to small grants for general operating as well. Small grants is a good opportunity because if you're like a newer organization, especially newer to us, it's a good entryway process. It's a quicker turnaround. So I think it's a good fit if you are a newer organization, especially newer to us. Next slide.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our event sponsorships. Event sponsorships may not exceed $2,500 per event or $2,500 per organization for 2024, for this year. So meaning an organization can come in for multiple events as long as the total does not exceed $2,500. Sponsorship support and the sponsorships will also support costs associated with one-day fundraising events, either virtual or in person, or sponsorships can also be used to support one-day neighborhood community events that encourage resident engagement and community involvement overall. At this time, we're going to stop and go through some questions. Logan, Jackie?
Thank you, Steph. So the first question is, we are a new organization in its first year. Are we eligible to apply for the responsive grant? Do you have grants available specifically for new organizations? Yes, you would not be eligible to apply for a responsive grant, but as I said in the previous slide, small grants could be maybe a good fit for you if you fit with the other eligibility of that process. So feel free to reach out to me for a small grant. If a current 2-year sponsor grant period ends in July 2024, can we apply for a new grant or continuation grant?
No, if you have a responsive grant ending this year that was awarded in 2023, those are the only organizations that are allowed to apply for continuation. We've just done the due diligence on those organizations. We completed that 6 months ago in July. So we're offering continuation to 2023 responsive grantees, not to anyone who was awarded a responsive grant earlier than that.
Okay. What's the main difference between a responsive grant and a basic needs grant?
Well, the responsive grant is a separate process. It is multi-year. It is for any purpose. Any 501c3 in our 20-town region doing any kind of work is eligible to apply. And it is the once-a-year process. The basic needs grant is specifically for organizations that provide basic needs. Food, shelter, only those things that go into what we categorize as basic needs. And as we develop that program more, there will be better definition put up on the website. So responsive is general operating support. You can use it for everything. Basic needs has a little more focus on direct service.
Is this session being recorded? And if so, do we have access to the recording? Yes, this is being recorded and it will be on the website shortly after. Is there a cap on the award amount for the consultant support program? Steph, I don't know if you want to take that one.
Yes, there is a cap on the award for the consultant support program, and that is $2,000. If you are requesting consultant support to work with a consultant on tackling issues of DEI or B, then we could fund up to $2,500. But generally speaking, the consultant support program is to support the organization and working with a consultant for a project, the total cost of the project not to exceed $5,000, and an organization could request $2,000 in consultant support program funding for that project.
All right, so I got another consultant support program one. So is consultant support only for towns and valley and CF area, CFG&H area?
The consultant support program is for nonprofit organizations that are serving our 20-town region.
Okay, our current CHG&H ends in July 2024. Should we still apply by the March 11th deadline for this new grant cycle? So I think I would need a little more clarity on that. I think what you mean is if your responsive grant ends July 2024, you would be eligible to apply for a responsive grant, but as previously mentioned, you would also be eligible for the continuation grant. So you have two options there. So feel free to read. Go ahead, Jackie.
Yeah, but that's only if it was, if the original grant was awarded in 2023.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They have a multi-year responsive grant that was awarded before 2023. Yes, they should apply this March for the new cycle.
What is a typical consultant support grant award?
Actually, there are a couple of consultant support questions, so I'm going to step in and try to get all of them done at once. The typical award is somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000. And as Stephanie said, it can't be more, the entire project can't be more than 5,000. So don't come to us for a piece of a $15,000 strategic plan. That is not what this is about. This is for a short-term thought partner to help you. It is not only for diversity related, although you can work in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. It can be finance, it can be board development, it can be anything you need it to be. So it's very, it's varied within. If you have a consultant already, can you apply for another one? You can only have one in each year. So if you have a project that is currently open, you cannot apply for another one. You'd have to wait 12 months to apply again for another consultant. Logan, you want to take a couple more?
Yeah, will continuations be for 1 year or 3? It'll be for 1 year. So the continuation grant is just for 1 year. Can you say again when notice of continuation of 2023 responsive award would be given? So I think Jackie just confirmed. So they're notified in May, and then July is when it would be released if approved for continuation, correct?
Right, but what we're asking you to do when you complete the report on your outcomes, we're going to review those as they come in. If we review it and you seem to be on track, we're going to recommend to our board in May that you continue. If we review it when it comes in February and you're not quite on track or something looks off, we will contact you, ask for some more information. If we are not going to recommend to our board that your grant is continued, you will know that in time to apply for a new grant.
Must consultant funding be spent by end of 2024 calendar year?
Well, it's only a little bit of money, so we hope you're going to spend that quickly because we want those projects to go, but it can be carried over. It needs to be.
If we move forward with the continuation and reapply next year, would the grant still be a 1 to 3 year award?
Yes.
Can a programmatic grant serve a global organization whose services are available to the state and region?
We have to look at those on a case-by-case basis. If you are a web-based organization and you happen to serve the whole world and you have 10 people who look in from this region or a lot of people who look in from this region, but you aren't doing any active programming here, then the answer is no, we would not fund that organization. You have to have a visible presence in our community in order to get funds from the Valley Community Foundation or the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven.
All right. We had a 2-year general operating grant and have a final report due in July 2024. That would mean we are ineligible to apply for a grant this year. We'd have to wait until March 2025.
Nope, you can apply this year.
Yeah.
Let's take one more and then move on.
For the small grant process, if you have a fiscally sponsored program, are you looking at the max operating budget of the sponsor or the org program itself?
Logan, you're the small grant, and the next one is also a small grant question.
If you're a fiscally sponsored program, are you looking at the max operating budget of the sponsor or the org? I would say of the program itself, just because you are being fiscally sponsored. Can an org with a 2 million budget apply for a small grant? No, we changed that this year to 1.5 million.
Okay. So there are a lot more questions that are here. Just to clarify, actually, there's one more small grant and one more, and then we'll skip. Clarify, we received a small grant last year. Does that disqualify us for responsive? No. If you received a small grant last year, you may apply for responsive this year. And if I apply for general operating grant, will this be for 3 years, or do I have to reapply each year? You can apply for 1, 2, or 3 years with one application, and then every year you do an interim report to us to let us know how you're doing. And you don't have to do a new application every year. You must update your GiveGrader profile on an annual basis with your financial statements. And you must just report on your outcomes on an annual basis, but there's no reapplication. So let's go on to the next slide.
I now have the pleasure of speaking specifically about Valley grants. As you see on the slide, it says Valley-based, but I will add the words Valley-serving as well. So it's Valley-based or Valley-serving organizations. There are 3 specific types: community grants, which there is a deadline for of March 8th at 5 o'clock. Sponsorship grants and needs and opportunities, which are rolling and ongoing processes. I'm going to talk a little bit more about each one of these in depth. Next slide, please. The community grants are providing access to support for small groups, small grassroots volunteer organizations in Ansonia, Derby, Oxford, Seymour, and Shelton, or whose majority of services are performed in these towns. The group applying needs to have a checking account. You do not need to be a 501c3. Examples of some prior support that we have given to community grantees have been funding for neighborhood cleanups, community gardens, elderly and parent activities, and youth engagement projects. The other thing is that all of the applications I'm going to be talking about are available on our website. We are going to require that you show your expenses and revenue, if any, for what you are planning to do if you receive a community grant from us. Next slide. Sponsorships, again, are for specific one-day events that are held in the Valley, or that they may not necessarily be held in the Valley, but they are benefiting our residents that are living in those 5 Valley towns. Organizations here must be 501c3s, and there is up to $2,500 per organization per year. I often get the question, if we have 2 events, one in the spring and one in the fall, can you apply and split the money between the $2,500? And the answer to that is yes. So it's up to $2,500 per org per year. Next slide, please. Our needs and opportunities grants are very similar to what has been previously described from TCF side on their small grant side. For us, there's a little bit more of a nuanced approach in terms of focusing specifically on innovative and ongoing programs serving emergency needs. And some prior examples of support here include, but are not limited to, providing funds to repair a damaged boiler or a leaking roof, support for innovative programs that are serving any of our underserved populations in the Valley. Grants are from $250 to $10,000 and are accepted again on a rolling basis throughout the year. They are typically acted on within a 60-day time frame, and they are up to $10,000. Logan, are you going to tackle a few more questions at this point?
Sure. So first question, can you apply for both responsive and small grant this year? No, you cannot. You must apply for one or the other. With small grants having 3 types, if we were awarded a small grant in 2023, wanted to apply for a different type in 2024, is that allowed, or is the every other year requirement to apply limited to any of the 3 categories? Yeah, so it's all 3 categories. So if you received any type of small grant in 2023, you cannot come back in 2024, even if it's a different type. Can a newer organization apply for a small grant and an event grant? Thank you. Yes. you could still apply for both small grant and sponsorship grant. And honestly, it's a good process for a newer organization, so yes. Can sponsorships be applied to funds already paid? For example, event expenses that are paid by the organization more than 60 days before the event. Jackie, you want to take that one or?
Expenses paid by the organization. So I'm sure that when you're doing an event, your expenses are somewhat ongoing. You can use it toward the event for any of the expenses that you incur. So yes, some of them may have been incurred before, but as long as it's dedicated to that event. Stephanie yeah, okay. Stephanie's saying yes, so she's the guru on sponsorships. So yes, it can be for things that already incurred, as long as they are directly event related.
Can you, this has been answered before, but can you apply for a responsive grant and a small grant? You cannot. Are sponsorships able to be applied for in addition to other awards like responsive grants? Yes, there's no, you can apply for responsive and a sponsorship. Responsive and a sponsorship. Is it a good idea to discuss intention of responsive grant with CFGH before submitting application? Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime, you want to discuss, especially with outcomes, which we'll talk about later in the slide, if you ever want to check in about your outcomes that you want to put in your application, yes, you can always come in and talk to us so we can guide you in the right process. We're always willing to have those conversations. Confused about the continuation requests. If we received a response grant before 2023 and all of a sudden we're reporting, can we apply again? Continuation requests are only for 2023 responsive grantees that received, because last year was only 1 year grant. So it's only for those who received a 1 year responsive grant in 2023.
Right. So if you have a multi-year and you're continuing, you can apply again now. If you have a grant that's ending in July 2024 and it was awarded in 2022, you can apply for a responsive grant. Continuation is only for those that were awarded in 2023.
Can organizations who receive continuation grants apply for a small grant? You cannot. Would it be possible to get a sponsorship for a non-fundraising event? We host an annual women's conference that is free to attendees that are free from the population that we serve. So Stephanie can maybe expand on this, but we typically do not fund conferences. So I don't think that would be eligible for sponsorship.
Yes, for event sponsorships, as Logan mentioned, we typically do not support workshops or conferences. Now, if there is a component of a workshop or conference that is really aimed at increasing community involvement, community engagement, providing information to participants through the workshop or the conference, but there's a piece carved out for kind of organic engagement, then that would be okay. But typically, no workshops or conferences. If you want to kind of tease that out and talk a little bit more about that, feel free to reach out to me and we can talk about it.
Can an organization apply for both the consultant support program as well as an event sponsorship grant? Yes. Your limit is 2,500 annually. We are to understand that if we apply for the 2,000 consultant grant, we're only eligible for. No, I don't think that's. I think it's only within the sponsorship process. So that's important to kind of maybe point out. You can apply for more than one sponsorship grant, I believe, still, Steph, but you can't exceed 2,500. So a grant from the consultant support program and sponsorship will not kind of hit that $2,500 maximum. So Stephanie's shaking her head agreeing, yes. If we apply for and receive a multi-year responsive grant in 2024, would we be eligible for a competitive small grant in 2025? Answer to that is yes. My organization will have 2 years of programming on June 3rd, 2024. Can I still apply for a responsive grant? You cannot. If I received a consultant grant in 2023, can we apply for a responsive grant in 24? Yes.
So anytime you apply for the consultant support program, it's a standalone program. You could apply for the consultant support program and apply for anything else at any time. And the award in the consultant support program does not affect any other awards that you can apply for or will get. Same thing with sponsorships. You can apply for up to $2,500 in sponsorships from VCF or TCF anytime, and those awards will not impact any other grant processes. Those are above and beyond everything else that we do.
Can you speak a bit more about the Community Fund for Women and Girls? What is the maximum dollar amount and tenure of the award, one or multi-year? Excuse me. Can you apply for this grant as well as responsive and/or small grant? So I don't know about the max amount you can come in for, and if it's a 1 year or multi-year. I know you can apply for a women and girls grant and a responsive. You can't apply. Remember, you can't apply for both responsive and small grants, but you can apply for a women and girls grant and a responsive and or small grant. But I don't know, does anyone, Jackie, do you have any more information on the Community Fund for
Let me
Women and
just let me throw out the, thank you, Logan, the Community Fund for Women and Girls and the Basic Needs processes are both committee driven. Those are donor committee driven processes. So it takes us a little bit longer to refine all of the details for those processes. So although we have the timeline, we don't have all of the details scheduled yet. So watch the website. There will be information available for that as things come closer to the deadlines.
Can this award be applied for healthcare purposes, such as for a conference or to start a patient registry? I guess I would have to know what specific process you're talking about, but it was kind of similar to that education process question as earlier, as long as you're a 501c3 providing health services. But I don't know if Jackie.
As we're healthcare purposes for a conference. So I'm not sure, first of all, this award, which process you're talking
I
about,
don't know either.
because sponsorships you cannot use for a conference. To start a patient registry, our responsive process is general operating support. So there was a question about asking, talk about the intent of the application. Let me remind you, general operating support is totally flexible funding. You can use it to pay staff salaries. You can use it to do a patient registry. You can use it to bring in a consultant. You can use it to pay for the toilet paper. You can use it to pay for electricity. It is totally flexible funding as long as you are fulfilling your mission and delivering impact to the folks that you serve. So there doesn't have to be an intent to your grant other than fulfilling your mission. So you're welcome to talking to us about your organization, but we don't want to know what you're specifically going to do with our dollars. We want to know that you're going to fulfill your mission. So if you're going to start a conference or start a patient registry with the money, and that's part of your mission, tell us how that fulfills your mission, not the activity that you're doing. And that's what we're going to be interested in your answer.
Well, do we want to keep reading questions or?
Yeah, let's do a couple more.
Okay, well, $50K per year is the max responsive grant. What is the average amount or average range of most grants awarded?
Honestly, last year was our first year having a $50,000 max on the grants. In the past, typically our awards have the majority of our awards have been between 25 and 35,000 a year. This year, I think we were somewhere around that same sweet spot, around $30,000 to $35,000 is the average of the awards. But this year was a 1 year process.
May we use consultant funding for stipends for parents who participate in a time-limited parent advisory council?
I'm looking at Stephanie, I'm looking at Valerie, because we're the ones that sort of, I would say yes, because
I agree.
we all agree. Okay, we all agree that that would be a yes. You're using what the purpose of this is to bring in someone who will give the organization information to make it stronger on the other side of the intervention. So if you are going to learn from these parents and make the organization stronger and more independent and more viable and more reflective and responsive to the community by bringing in these parents, then indeed they are your consultants. So yes, I would say that yes, you can pay for parent advisory council stipends. Stephanie, why don't you take the can a sponsorship grant be a portion of the larger?
You can use funding through the event sponsorship to support your event as a whole, right? So if your entire event, let's say, is going to cost $8,000, you can apply for an event sponsorship and use that money from the, to support the event. When you submit a sponsorship application, you'll see we do have a question that asks about your sponsorship levels. So, for example, a sponsorship of $1,000 would provide the foundation with marketing opportunities in social media and on your website, and a half-page ad in the program book, right? And then there's another question that asks about additional costs associated with the event. And so I'm making this up, but you can say, you want to hire a DJ for a couple $100. There's going to be catering, and that's going to be, a couple $1,000, marketing and so forth. And so when the sponsorship committee meets, they look at the request as a whole, and that's, they use all the information to make a decision around whether or not to sponsor the event and at what level.
Okay, I'm just going to answer the one question about, yes, and remind folks, this session is being recorded. You will get a link to this emailed out to you as participants. It will also be posted on our website. I would say within 48 hours, it will be posted on our website. So you'll be able to go back and view this at any time. And let's go on to the next slide. And the 3 steps before you apply. So if you're getting ready and thinking about applying for an application, for a grant, you have to be ready to apply. You have to do your research. You have to be fundable, and we have to know that you have done your research. You have to find out as much as you can about the work you're proposing to do. Chances are very good that someone else is out there already doing something similar. So we need to know that you're aware of that and how you differ from what's already out there, or how deep the need is, so that you're going to be providing services to people that really need it. And you can go to all kinds of sources for this information on both the Valley Community Foundation website and on the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven website. There are the wellness reports that Data Haven prepares, the Valley Indicators report. You can talk to people in the community. Make sure you understand not only our process by watching this webinar, but understand other funders' processes and how they want to hear from you. Understand what the need is for your program and be able to make that case and need for your organization within the community. Identify perhaps collaborators or partners within the community. It could be public or private partners, community leaders, other funders, government entities, and other nonprofits that you can work with. How can someone who's already out there in the community doing something similar enhance your work? And then you can structure your program request. Think about your goals. I always tell folks, work backwards. Define your goals first. What is it that you're trying to achieve? What are the outcomes you're trying to achieve? How will you measure them? And then prepare the budget that gets you to the place to be able to accomplish those goals. Write the implementation plan. What is it that you're going to do to make all of those things happen? Develop your fundraising strategy. No funder, including our community foundations, are going to be the sole source for any project or program or organization. So where else is the rest of your money coming from? Folks, funders like to see a balanced budget. So where are your other funders? If you have other funders, it shows that someone has credibility, that has believed in your credibility, and is excited about your programming. And then you can write your proposal. And I always recommend, before you submit the proposal, have someone else read it. A significant other, someone on your board, and so that if they understand it, then we will understand what you're talking about. If they have questions, it gives you a chance to define better what you're asking for, and so that we can understand what you're looking for. We all have the tendency to use terms and jargon that are specific to our areas of expertise. And others in the field who are not in your field may not have any idea what that term or that acronym means. So you may want to be careful about using those kinds of things in your applications. So we've looked at a lot of different programs. Now that you've heard about all of our processes, you can use these questions to think about which is the right process for you and when. The responsive process has a deadline. The small grant process is a rolling application. So which is better? Do you need the answer right away? It might be better to come in for a small grant than to wait for the deadline of the responsive. Which are you eligible for? Do you meet the criteria for the programs that you want to be in? And have you looked at those? Are you statewide or are you local? Are you local to the 20 towns? What level of funding is needed? Do you want to go through the competitive process of responsive grants to apply for 15,000 when you could apply for a small grant for 10? Would that work instead? Give you a more nimble and faster answer. What level of funding do you need? What type of funding? Do you want program or capacity building? Those are small grant applications. If you can also run them into your general operating support grant, but if you know you need something specific, apply to the right program. And when is the funding needed? If you have a summer program, you must apply for a small grant now in order to get an answer. If you apply for the responsive program, you're not going to be able to use that money until summer of 2025 because you will not get an answer on responsive until July of 2024. You will not be able to plan your summer program based on this year's funding. So when do you need the funding? Have all of those things help make your decisions.
This year, we have focused our technical assistance and expanded it. Those of you who have been with us in the past and know our nuts and bolts sessions, we are now have really honed in on, and hone is the first word in the first series that we are doing, to look at the questions we typically get during nuts and bolts. There are 3 sessions, February 5th, the 7th, and the 9th. And they are all listed on our websites. As you see in the beginning, the first 2 are recommended for all. The first one, honing mission and vision and elevator pitching. The second, creating outcomes and outcome measures. The third, preparing your budget, is specifically recommended for small organizations and statewide multi-region. All sessions run from 11 to 12. They will all be virtual again. They will be recorded and posted. The link is up on our websites and you can register for any or all of them. And I just also wanted to focus your attention on the fact that before you attend any of these sessions, please make sure that you are looking at the application or applications that you are trying to apply for and be prepared to bring your questions to us.
Okay, so Blackbaud is our system for accessing all online applications. It's been a few years now, but I'm just throwing it out there just in case. If you've not applied to either foundation prior to the July 2019 switch, then you will need to create a new account, a new password. The existing account, but prior to that July 2019 date, would be no longer active. As we kind of ran through the slides, they're posted on the Valley Foundation and CFG&H website with the, online, but not small grants, because small grants, I provide you the link, but organizations must complete an application for consideration in any grant process. So all applications must be submitted through here. We cannot accept an application via email or something through the mail. It has to be submitted through Blackbaud Grant Making. There's eligibility quiz. We kind of talked about some of the eligibility of different processes. Each application usually has an eligibility quiz to kind of see if you're appropriate. Anytime you have any kind of questions about that, or if you have issues, kind of any issues accessing your account, your password, issues accessing the application, just please let me know. I'm kind of the tech person for Blackbaud grant making. This page too, it would kind of be in your benefit to bookmark it, this login page. That way you can kind of at any time easily access your applications that you're working on or any sort of reports that you need to complete. Blackbaud does have a lot of automated emails that kind of come through that gives you the link to log back in. So, that is also an option to kind of get back in here. So Valerie, I don't know if you wanted to read any additional questions.
So Logan, in the interest of time, I'm thinking that we'll just continue to move on and have Jackie wrap up with all of the questions at the end, and we will help you, Jackie, so you're not doing them all by yourself. But I know that Stephanie has some really great information about GiveGrader and other points that we want to make sure that we're including. So Stephanie, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Val. So givegrader.org. I want to mention, because there is some confusion here. So Bonterra, formerly known as GiveGab, and GiveGab is becoming Bonterra. They're kind of in the middle of updating some of their marketing, but it is GiveGab / Bonterra. They are our technology partner, and GiveGab Bonterra provides the online platform for givegrader.org. I am available to help organizations create and update their givegrader.org profile. An up-to-date, publicly viewable profile must have an expiration date set to expire no earlier than March 31st, 2024 for those organizations that are applying for a responsive grant. The number of required fields within the givegrader.org profile have been reduced, but I want to mention that it could take up to 6 to 8 hours to complete a full givegrader.org profile. If you're looking to update a profile, that could take anywhere between 20 to 45 minutes, depending on how much of the information you're updating and how much of the information that you are updating is readily available at your fingertips. Be prepared with organizational materials, including but not limited to the current list of board members, the 990 tax forms for your 3 most recently completed fiscal years, as well as financials, whether they're audits or year-end financial statements. So right now we are looking for the financial information for 2020, 2021, and 2022. Organizations that are new need to have at least 1 full year of completed financial information in order to have a completed publicly viewable profile on givegrader.org. Givegrader.org is not the same as thegreatgive.org. Both givegrader.org and thegreatgive.org are platforms that are provided by GiveGab Bonterra, but they are separate and distinct profiles, separate and distinct platforms. If we can move on to the next slide, please. Okay, so the Great Give 2024, here we are. We are preparing for this year's 36-hour giving event. Registration for the Great Give will open on February 1st. The Great Give is a 36-hour giving event. It is one of the many benefits of having a year-round publicly viewable profile on givegrader.org is that the list of organizations that we use that can participate in the Great Give is generated from givegrader.org. Now, separate and distinct profiles, separate and distinct websites. However, when you log into GiveGab / Bonterra, you are able to navigate from one profile to the other, so you can easily cut and paste and share information between both platforms. Both the Community Foundation and our technology provider, GiveGab Bonterra, provide a lot of support for nonprofits with materials and workshops, one-on-one assistance. There's a lot of canned workshops and materials that you can access. And so you certainly want to make sure that you're tapping into all that is available. If at any time you have any questions about givegreater.org, please feel free to reach out to me, as well as if you have any questions about the Great Give. Thank you.
We talked earlier about the reporting part of the responsive and all of our grant process. The following are conditions of all responsive grants. There needs to be the submission of an annual report on the progress made toward outcomes. And as Stephanie has just talked about, any updates to the grant recipient's existing givegreater.org profile need to be made if applicable. Reporting is all done electronically through our Blackbaud grant making portal, which Logan talked about before. And they all of the reporting requirements need to be completed in order to apply to the foundations, plural, for any of the grant processes that we've talked about earlier today. And Logan, I'm hoping that you will bring us home with the resources that we have available for our participants today.
Yes, Val. So yeah, as we wrap up, these are the resources that are available to you. There's us, but then there's a couple other names on here. Particularly, Kara. I mentioned Kara Strawn. I mentioned before about if you needed to check if you were in compliance, Kara would be the person to check in with that. There's also a question about responsive grants in terms of like, should we have a conversation before? Kara is always available to run through your outcomes before submitting them. So that is a resource that is available to you. Yeah, so anytime, just reach out to us and any questions you have. So speaking of questions, I don't know if you want me to run through the last few here, Jackie and everybody. So in email to 2023 recipients, you mentioned how competitive this year's grant cycle is anticipated to be. For those of us considering applying for the continuation grant this year versus a new responsive grant, do you feel the 2025 responsive grants will be less competitive than this year's cycle?
No, we wish we had that crystal ball.
Yeah.
But what we can tell you is that all of the responsive grants are ending this year. So the 3-year multi-year, the 2-year multi-year, and the 1-year multi-year are all ending this year. That gives us plus we have lots of new organizations that have joined us today. So we think may be joining us for the responsive process. That gives us a huge universe of organizations that could be applying this year. If they all apply this year, that means those that are successful, because there will be denials, those that are successful will be in a multi-year process. They will not be applying next year. So if you were to get a continuation grant this year, you are one of only those who are, either new to the community foundations or the renewals or the continuations who would be applying next year. We think it's going to be less competitive. It allows us to reopen that stagger of organizations so that we have the time to do the due diligence we need to do on all of those organizations to get a good process going through. So we do believe it's going to be less competitive next year because we expect that we're going to be moving a lot of organizations through this year.
And Val, this one's for you. Can a statewide organization apply for a sponsorship to hold an event in the Valley?
So if the event is going to include a percentage of Valley folks that are going to be attending this statewide event, the answer to that question would be yes. I would encourage you to contact me offline to have a further discussion about it, but absolutely, if you are opening it up to Valley folks as well as the rest of the state, we would certainly consider it, and I'd like to know more about it. Thank you.
We are holding a community event scheduled for International Women's Day on March 8th. The sponsorship grant states to apply 60 days before the event. Are there any other grants we could apply for as we are within the 60 days at this point? Thank you. Steph, I don't know if you want to.
If you're looking for support for the event that's scheduled in March, the event sponsorships is really that's the process that you want to apply for. Without knowing more about your event, that would be what we have available. I would encourage you to submit the application for the event sponsorship by the end of the month so that we can review the request and turn that around in time for the March event.
If an organization serves as a fiscal sponsor for multiple entities, may both the primary organization and the fiscally sponsored group apply for a responsive grant? Jackie, I don't know if you want to.
Oh, the answer to that is yes. The primary organization can apply in addition to the organization that it is sponsoring.
How do you know what type of grant you received last year? Yeah, if you need a reminder, just to help you with eligibility, you could shoot me an email. I can kind of run a report in our system. I think, I mean, I could probably run you through the competitive grants. Anything non-competitive, that would have to be someone else, but I can kind of guide you what you got last year and what that means for this year. So feel free to reach out to me. The eligibility requirements for responsive grants say that you have to be up to date on all reporting from previous grants. If the report for a previous grant due date is listed in our system as 9/6/2024, that have to be submitted prior to applying for the responsive grant this year. No, because I mean, if the due date is September 6, 2024, you would submit it by September 6th. Will you be offering further rounds of the career pathway grants?
We do not have career pathways grants on the calendar for 2024.
If we apply for the maximum amount for the responsive grant and you determine that we should have less than the maximum, could we still be approved for responsive grant at the lesser amount, or would we be denied? Is the amount something we should discuss with you ahead of time? Lisa Loaves and Fishes. I mean, I always, yeah, Jackie, you seem to.
No, go ahead.
I mean, I always say just come in for what you need, and then, you know, we kind of determine it from there. I don't know, Jackie, if you wanted to add more to
Yeah.
that.
You apply, absolutely, Logan, you were right. Apply for what you need. We then take a look at, and as our reviewers are working with you, they'll understand more how you arrived at that number you're applying for. So if it's the maximum, we'd like to know how you got to that number. If it's not the maximum, we'd also like to know how you got to that number. As we look at all of the applications that are in and how our resources can be best deployed within the community, we will make determinations. There will be some organizations that get fully funded for what they've requested. There will be some organizations that get less than they requested, and there will be some organizations that will be denied. So it depends on the compelling story you tell within your application.
The next question is kind of similar. I think we feel like we kind of already answered it, but if an applicant applies for 50K, you ever decide yes to application, but adjust the total amount down to some other amount? Yes, I mean, it really depends upon the pool and kind of what you're asking. Thank you. I have to sign off. If you support many organizations, should you have a unique email per organization? Ooh, that's a good question.
No.
No.
So this is a consultant who's asking that question. So if you are on our mailing list, you're going to get the mailing that goes out to all organizations.
Yeah.
If you are the person who has to do the grant reporting for an organization that you're supporting, then you need to be on that organization's list, and grants needs to know about that. But you don't have to have a unique email for each organization. I will tell folks, and I had to send out special emails this morning, there were some role-based emails that registered, like admin at or info at or office at. Our mail system will not send those that thinks we're spamming people. So if you are registered with us and you have that as your email, as our primary email, please contact us and change your email in our system, because you will not get any of our emails because our system will not send them to you.
Yeah, and I would say too, because you know, a lot of our emails that go out about reminders are generic. So if there's ever a time where you know you're doing multiple reports for an organization, just feel free to reach out and be like, do you know which one this is kind of talking about? And we can kind of confirm that for you. In trying to determine if we should apply for continuation, what is the grant request amount cap for 2024?
Not sure of the question, but anyone who's applying through the responsive process for 2024 has a $50,000 cap. If you're applying for continuation, you do not apply for amount. What we're offering is 65% of whatever your award was last year without coming into the competitive process.
If a give greater profile has an expiration date after 3/31/2024, do organizations need to take further action in order to be considered for a new responsive grant?
If the expiration date is already after 3/31/24, then you probably have your most recent financial statements up there. But if you have something new in financial statements, it would behoove you to post that into your profile. It would also be best to read through the narrative. I can't tell you the number of profiles. What we look for in renewing the profile is your board chair's term and your financial statements. We do not read your narrative. So if you're referring in your outcomes and in your mission and in your impact and in your program listings about what you did in 2022, and that has not been updated, we're not checking that. That's up to you. So I would read through your entire profile. And if you have program updates to make those as well. It really will take you an hour to do that. It's the kind of thing you know off the top of your head, and make sure that your most recent financial statements are posted, even if your expiration date is in the future. Anything to add, Stephanie? Okay.
No, I wouldn't. I think that if you are updating the Give Greater profile as part of the responsive grant application, take the time and go through every tab, each field, because your profile will be reviewed as part of the application. And so you want to make sure that the profile is as strong and transparent as it could possibly be.
You have a start date for the Great Give 2024 early giving.
We will be, you can take a look on after January 20th, you can take a look on the site, and it will tell you in the frequently asked questions.
Will the cap in 2025 also be 50K? Sorry if you already addressed this. I mean, that's another kind of crystal ball question, I think. We don't really know.
But I would anticipate that yes, the answer to that is yes.
Yes. Unless
there's some tremendous windfall and we have the opportunity to be able to give more. So
right.
At 11:25, I believe we've gotten through all of the questions. Oh, no, two more just came in. One more came in.
If you are a member of more than one organization applying for grants, please confirm. You can use your same email, but you would need a different login. You can use, it wouldn't be a different login if it's the same email. And the system can kind of like pick up that you have different kind of connections with different organizations. So you don't need, you would not need a different login. No.
Okay, we have 4 more minutes. We will stay on. The resources are here for you again. Remember, you are always welcome to reach out to us by email, and we can help you. Kara will help you if you don't know if your reporting is up to date. Please do come register for those sessions that are directly related to our grants. I think those will be very helpful, and they'll not only for our grant applications, but for others. To have a really good mission statement that is well articulated is really important. That's your third partner in fundraising. Your board, your staff, and your mission are your partners in fundraising. So please come to that workshop, and that's a part of your application. Creating the outcomes is very specific about what you're trying to accomplish in the world, and Kara is going to lead that session for us. And she'll be able to help you. And then she is also willing to give one-on-one support if you give her enough time to be able to read through your outcomes and make tweaks on those. And Stephanie is always there to help you with givegreater.org. If you have a great Give profile, it does not count. If you're in the Great Give and you've renewed or registered, that's great. It has nothing to do with givegreater.org. So make sure you reach out to Stephanie. Valerie, I see your hand raised.
Thanks, Jackie. As a former grant writer, I have 2 points of clarity that I want to share with everybody before we go. One of them is please, please, please hit file save every single time you are part of working on your application. And also from someone who has lost applications all over the place right before the deadline, please make sure to try and get it in before 5 o'clock on the deadline, the date that it's due. That's just my grant writing side of this process. I'm wishing you all much good luck and success as you come to us, because one of the major things that we focus on from our former mentor, Sarah Fabish, is no is not no forever. We really want you to be successful in this process. Thank you all.
I'm putting the dates up one more time, as folks had requested. Those are the sessions. They are also will be they are, I believe, already on our website, so you can register on the web, both the VCF and the New Haven website. As an organization that is new to foundations, where do we start and with which one of you?
I would say me.
Logan raised his hand. As long as you're not a Valley-based organization, because that would be Valerie.
Well, we can absolutely help Valley folks too, though. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, we are interchangeable. We're all Valley folks. So we have 1 minute left. We'll stay here for any more questions that come in for that 1 minute. If not, as I said, this will be recorded. It will be posted. You will get the link. We thank you very much for your great questions this morning, for helping us clarify anything that was not clear. And we look forward to hearing from each of you in the process that is best for your organization. So long.